We are in section 16.2 and we're going to look at problem number 5. The development of a new product will require the expenditure of $150,000 at the beginning of each of the next 3 years. When the product reaches the market at the beginning of year 4, it is expected to increase the firm's annual year-end profit by $90,000 for 7 years. Then the product line will be terminated and $100,000 of the original expenditure should be recovered promptly. If the firm's cost of capital is 8.5%, should it proceed with the project? So the rule is if the NPV is greater than 0, then it should, or greater than or equal to 0, then it should proceed with the project. So we have to figure out the NPV of the project, and we do that. We've been introduced in this section to the cash flow and NPV worksheets. So that's what we're going to use. So you can use formulas still, but again, I'm just going to go over the worksheet. The thing to do is to write down the cash flows. So the project will require expenditures of $150,000 at the beginning of the next 3 years. So year 1, year 2, and year 3 are going to have a negative $150,000 because it's a cash outflow. So you're going to have a negative. When the product reaches the market at the beginning of year 4, it's going to have profit of $90,000 for 7 years. So when you read the question, you don't really, it's not really obvious, but when you write it out, it becomes clearer. The $150,000 is for 3 years, but the first year is always immediate. So $150,000 now, $150,000 in the next year, which is year 1, and again in year 2. So that's what we're seeing here. Then the income is going to happen in year 4. So you're going to have negative flows for years 0, 1, and 2. Year 3, there's going to be nothing. Then in year 4, you're going to start with the $90,000. And that's going to be for 7 years. But also, at the last year, you're going to have $100,000 of the original investment returned. So from years 4 to 9, you're going to have just the $90,000 in operating profit. But in year 10, you're going to have that $90,000 plus the $100,000. So when you look at it that way, you can kind of see then when you write it out that there is a gap here. And when you have your cash flows, if there's 2 flows in 1 year, you add them together. So now we can go to our cash flow worksheet. So you're going to hit cash flow. That's right up in the second row. It's the second key from the left in the second top row. So whenever you go into your cash flow worksheet, the first thing you want to do is clear your work. Clear all the previous stuff that's in there. So second, and clear work is right on the bottom left. It's above the CE/C. That one. Hit that. Now that clears everything that was in there previously. Now the negative 150 happened for 3 years, and if you just read that section, you might actually think that you could just put it in and then make the F key equal to 3. But because the first $150,000 cash outflow, that's your CFO, that's your initial investment. So you have to put in your initial investment, $150,000 negative, and then enter. And you use the down arrow, and then you go to your first cash, well, CO1. It's your first flow from year 1. So now we've already entered in the first 150 here. Now we have to do the next. We can enter the next 2 as one transaction, we'll say. So 150,000 negative, enter, down, and then when we get to FO1, now we can enter 2 because that happens for 2 more years. So 2, enter, and then down. So we have this one, the first 150,000 outflow is the 0-1. Then the CO1 is here, and we can enter it as negative 150, but we can enter it for 2 years. Then we have to enter the third year as the third cash flow is 0. So it's CO2. Now it shows 0, but unless you hit enter, to actually record that 0 in there. It doesn't do anything. So make sure you hit 0, enter. And that only happens for 1 year. So FO2 is already at 1. So we're going to leave it like that and go down. Then we have to enter the 90,000. And that happens in year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that is 6 years. So CO3, and you're going to enter 90,000. Now that's a cash inflow. So we leave it as positive. So enter. And then scroll down to FO3. And there we enter how many years or how many times that happens. And that's 6. So 6, enter down. And then the last one, we had 100,000 from the initial investment being returned. We had 90,000 for profit. So we have 190,000. So again, you enter 190. And again, that's a cash inflow. So it's positive. So hit enter. And down. And that only happened for 1 year. So now that we have all our cash flows in, you can hit NPV, which is next to the cash flow key. I is the interest rate, and it said in the question it's 8.5%, so just hit 8.5 and enter. And you scroll down and you get NPV. So just hit compute, and you should get negative 10,779.287, so round it up to 0.29. So it has a negative NPV. So again, since the NPV of the project is negative, it should be rejected. If it's 0 or above, it can be accepted. But if it's negative, we want to reject the new project.